Ladies and gentlemen, they flooded the streets. They made their protests. Their voices were heard. They risked their own safety. Some left their businesses, their school, their family members to come out on the streets to protest. Some say they're young, defiant, and they're ill-mannered. Others call them Kenya's last hope. But behind the placards and the hashtags are real people with real struggles and real fears. What happens after the smoke or the tear gas dissipates? What happens to those hearts that burnt bright and alive, demanding for change in this country? You know what? They're here with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the People's Court is now open. Let's listen to what they have to say. The simple question is this: what sends them to the streets? And we'll unpack it in the different ways that we can. Good people watching us from wherever, here's how you can take part in this conversation. My producers will put the SMS line or the WhatsApp number on the screen. It should be there. In the course of this discussion, that number sends your comment directly to me right here. And I'll be happy to sample it. Keep your language clean and your point strong. And of course, we'll all benefit from the wisdom that you have to share. Please do not call that number. Please just send a WhatsApp. The SMS line is also open. 22047 is the number. It's open. And for those of you who are watching via YouTube or any other platform, Twitch, just use the chat box. Use the chat, the live chat. And once again, I'll be happy to sample it live and direct. So with that out of the way, I would like to welcome you to the conversation tonight. It's been a while. Karibuni sana, guys. How are you guys doing? Everything okay? Excellent. How about you guys? Mko salama?
Yeah. Salama.
All right. Now, we're going to do it a little bit different. Some of these guys you've seen on this platform before. But because this is a show about these people and the people that are watching at home, I want to allow them to introduce themselves in the words that they prefer to be introduced by. And starting with our lady at my extreme left, Judy, please, would you care to introduce yourself to Kenyans in your own special way? Tell them who you are and what you do. There's your camera.
My name is Wanjira Wanjiru. I am a social justice activist, a firm believer that Kenya could be better. And I come out to the streets in trying to realize that different reality of justice, of equity, of social justice, of humanity.
All right, thank you so much. How about you, sir?
My name is James Mulamba. I am a revolutionary, a civic educator, a youth leader, and a campaigner for change. And I've been doing that for close to 5 years now. And we've not really changed this country, but we're on the right course because at least we're having the conversation. It starts with a conversation, then we change the mindset of the Kenyan people. Then when we get to the ballot, be it through by-elections or through the general election, I am sure we're going to make strategic change in the positions of leadership.
All right, thank you. And last but not least.
My name is Nelias Njuguna. I'm the legal advisor for the Kenya Human Rights Commission. I am happy to be back on this show. And at the Commission, we are still fighting for people's rights and to advance access to justice and human rights, promotion of human rights.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And of course, we will be joined by Chris Otieno, who's joining us from Mombasa. He's going to be joining us live and direct. I'm made to understand Chris is with us. Hello, Chris. Good evening. If you can hear us, say hello.
Hi, that is my name. I'm a security expert. And I'm really glad to be in this conversation. Thank you very much, Victor.
And for now, the wonderful group of people that we have in our studio tonight, each time you speak, or at least speak for the first time, we should be able to hear your name and get to know what you do, all right? Thank you so much. Now, here's how we're going to do it. We have some time. We have until 11:30 p.m., okay? So we have just under an hour and a half, give or take with some breaks here and there. I would like us to help us to actually have everyone have a chance to speak. So if you get a chance, make your point as punchy as possible, and we keep it going, all right? Thank you so much. Now, I have a question for you. I don't want to call you by your Christian name because this is how you introduced yourself. Wanjira, a few years ago, an image of you on the streets of Nairobi, I believe it was Moi Avenue, if I'm not wrong, went viral across the world. And for people who had never known who you are and what you do, that was their first introduction to you and the voice that you carry and the things that you fight for. I need you to talk to us a little bit about the first time you ever joined a protest. What pushed you to leave your home, the comfort of your home or whatever it is you're doing, to face what has now become a reality that every protest will be met by police, tear gas, and sometimes death? What pushed you out on the streets for the first time?
I grew up in Mathare slums, and police killings and police brutality, what Kenyans are witnessing now in this time, was a reality for the people of Mathare, for the people of Dandora, for the people of Kibera, and all the slums of Nairobi. And I felt that, why are we normalizing this? Why are we normalizing police killing young people like right to life is not a constitutional right? Jela ni za nini kama vijana wamekosea na hawapelekwi kwa through the justice system. And so we young people who were fresh from high school, I was 19 years old when I co-founded the Mathare Social Justice Center with my colleagues who are in the civic space for a long time, Gasheke Gashihe. And we started documenting the people who are being killed and telling our story, that these are not just thugs. This is a son, this is a father, this is a friend, this is a humanizing, so that it's not just that. So that when the media reports and says 5 thugs shot by police, we are saying this is our community member. We would very much appreciate that the law is followed in every single case.
It's not just a number.
It's not just a number. And today we say it's not just a hashtag. These are real people. And so that is how we started organizing the first protest against police brutality. And we started going for Saba Saba March for Our Lives in 2018, reclaiming the spirit of Saba Saba, when Kenyans defied Moi's dictatorship, when Kenyans reclaimed their sovereignty. So in 2018, the social justice movement in Kenya organized the first Saba Saba March of Our Lives, bringing all the ghetto people together from Dandora, Kayole, everywhere. And it was a very powerful march. And every other subsequent Saba Saba, we have been on the streets. On 2020, I was particularly enraged about the continuation of these killings, that despite our publishing of a book that had 803 killings of Kenyans who had been killed by police, it was the first report in Kenya showing that this is a systemic thing that happens, drawing in the attention of Kenyans on police brutality and police killings. Still, this was happening, that despite our protests in 2018, in 2019, it's now 2020, it's becoming a trend. We are not being heard. So I was very angry. And that is why when police arrested me, I was like, I'm not going anywhere with you. I felt very violated. I felt like you're not respecting the Constitution, you're killing us, you're not hearing us. And that is why I chanted that when we lose our fear, they lose their power. I needed Kenyans to know that we need to stand in defense of life. We need to stand in defense of law, of the Constitution, of justice. And 5 years later, it feels like we're still stuck.
Yeah, because actually about that, it's from when you started up to now, I'm sure the list of names has grown from 803. Right now, I imagine it's unimaginable to even know just how many people. Does this journey of fighting for these people, these names that keep passing across, your phone or your computer or whatever, does this journey exact a toll on you personally? And if so, what is that toll? What is that cost that you pay?
Emotional toll, yes, it weighs emotionally. But then ideological clarity keeps me on the path, because I firmly believe that change is inevitable. I firmly believe that this will not be our situation forever. So I can only keep fighting, I can only keep demanding, I can only keep mobilizing. And just look at what difference it made from 2020 to 2024, last year. You saw that Kenyans had the confidence to come to the streets, because there were people who were coming to the streets every now and then. We have had a culture of protest that is not very prevalent in Tanzania, for example, in Uganda, for example. But because Kenyans have been protesting, the Finance Bill 2024 had a foundation. It was easier for Kenyans to come out now and say, we are coming, to say we are rejecting this bill. This year, protests do not even need a leader to say we are going to the streets. Kenyans themselves feel like, on this Sabasaba, I'm coming out. On this 25th, I am coming out. It has become a personal volition. It is no longer we are organizing that people come to the streets. And that is a very serious level of consciousness that has emerged among the Kenyan people that cannot be bottled.
All right. James, talk to me about your own reasons for being this vocal. Because for those of you who've been watching this show, James has been around a few times, and in each time we've gotten to know you a little bit, and we know you've got another side to you. There's a businessman in the making, one of the future moguls in the hospitality industry, if I should say so. So what takes you away from that goal and gives an edge to your voice when you talk about these other things? What sends you from that path? Because everyone is all about the dollar these days. What sends you from that path to this one? What is it that drives you there?
I think personally it comes as a conviction. Leadership to me comes as a conviction because I am convinced that I will lead this country one day. That doesn't mean that I have to lead this country as a president or as a deputy president. And I would not want to lead the country we have today. This is not even a country. We have a beautiful constitution, we have good laws, but we have pathetic leaders all through. And we have a culture of impunity, police brutality, corruption, you name it. And this is not the country I want. So as a future leader, I thought it behooves me to first fight for a better country now before we get to lead later. Because there wouldn't be a country to lead if we continue in the same trajectory that we are in today. And I think silence breeds the status quo. And if we do not call out the government, if we do not call for change and accountability, we continue to enable the very monster that is suffocating and killing us. So to me, it comes as a personal responsibility.
I see.
Yeah.
And to that, you mentioned leadership as sort of like a compulsion for you. How, I mean, some of you and some of the guys in this room have become sort of like the face of this movement, so to speak. The Gen Z movement is tribeless, leaderless, and so on. But for us in the media and for those of you at home who look at the newspaper pictures and look at the videos on YouTube, on our channel and every other place, you can see these faces and names. So can you tell me, how do you balance anger that you feel and leadership, and the pressure of what you're doing? How do you balance that?
I will start off with what Wanjira said, the ideological clarity that we all have, well, a majority of us. We know what we want and we know how to get it. And to that extent, we know how to balance our emotions, even though sometimes it's challenging. I can tell you for a fact that most youths are struggling with this. We are struggling with anger management and stress management because it's just too much on our plate. You have unemployment on one side, you have relationship issues on the other side, and you have a fucked up leadership on the other side. I'm sorry I've used that word, but it is what it is. We are balancing a lot. And in the midst of all that, we have a government that does not tire to trigger us with the sentiments they utter almost every other day, and with the recklessness we see in government, with the opulence, with the misuse and wastage of public funds. There's just more reason to get angry in this country. There is more wood for the fire every day. But we keep ourselves focused because we realize that this is where they want to get us. It is intentional. They say what they say intentionally. They want to get us fired up. They want to scramble our heads so that we lose the passion, we lose the focus, and we lose the clarity, and that's where they win. That we resign to fate and we say, these guys are not going to change. This country is not going to change. After all, leadership has been like this in this country, and we should just stop making an effort. We will vote these guys out one day, someday, however long it takes, and we should accept that we are beaten as a number by a ratio of 10 to 2, but we forget that we are the majority and that they are the minority.
Yeah.
The people in government are less than 1,000. The active ones and say the important ones who make decisions for this country. How many MPs do we have? How many senators do we have? The cabinet has 22 people. The president is 1 and 1 deputy president. Less than 1,000 people who are making decisions on behalf of the entire country. So that tells us, and that should remind us every day as we wake up, that we are the majority and we have the numbers and we should have the will to continue fighting to change this system and to change the leadership of this country once and for all.
All right, all right. Now, I want to shift here. I have a question here. I mean, you've heard all sorts of things about the Gen Z movements. You've heard, initially you're dismissed as just idle young people with KFC and whatever. You remember that time. I want you guys to tell me, what are some of the biggest misunderstandings about the Gen Z protests that you've heard? Let's start with you, since you've got a mic. What's the biggest misunderstanding about this movement, the protests that you've heard, that really makes you mad?
Thank you. My name's Daniel.
Would you please stand? Thank
Okay,
you. So
sorry.
that the camera may capture you in all your glory. Same for all of you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Daniel Kahindi, all the way from Kinangop constituency. Professionally, I'm a business developer, currently working at Royal Associates, insurance brokers. And what I want to say is that what we have is not what we need.
What's the biggest misunderstanding about the protests that you've heard?
The biggest misunderstanding that we have is our leaders want to make it a misunderstanding. That is why they're introducing their goons into us who are ready to serve or who are ready to fight for us, for the nation. And that is where the misunderstanding is coming from.
Okay.
That is why when we go to the streets, these people are later goons after the distractions have been done, which are government-sponsored, of government officials who are sponsoring it, we are told that it is us. Whereby, for us, we are fighting in the right way.
Oh, so if I'm hearing you right, you're saying that one of the biggest misunderstandings is that, it's now been said that all the youth are goons and are destructive.
Terrorists, as they said. In
All
fact,
right.
I'm shocked that they are talking of terrorists, and last week we saw what happened in Coast Region. And I'm like, between us, who are demonstrating with our phones, and just water and Colgate, and the terrorists with guns, who are able to kill KDF soldiers. Between us, who is a terrorist to who?
All right, that's a powerful question. Let's hear from somebody else. Yes, you have the microphone, and then Tetezi. Tetezi, go first, and then you give it to him.
Okay, I'm James Tetezi,
Yes.
the founding Secretary General of the Young Liberators, a group interested and dedicated to liberating our motherland, Kenya.
You're welcome.
And to start with,
Yes, please.
before maybe I respond to your question,
Yes, please.
it's just to remind the government that no amount of intimidation, no amount of names called to the youth will stop this journey, because this future and this present belongs to us, and we can't live it the way you want us to live it.
All right.
So the greatest misunderstanding that I've ever had since I started going to the street is the president holding a press brief and calling us criminals, going in another word also called us that we are committing treasonous act just because we practiced Article 37 of the Constitution. And that is the greatest misunderstanding that I've ever had for the Gen Z protest. The other misunderstanding that I've ever had for this protest is having the president himself come out clearly, instead of sympathizing with families that have lost their lives. There is a time a president asked, he got 8 bullets, but he is alive. And you feel like we are talking to people who do not have ears, who do not have the heart of human beings. And those misunderstandings that have kept us moving the street, because we must prove to this government we are not criminals. We are young people who understand the law, who reads the Constitution, who have been educated through free education, and we know that this future belongs to us. It does not belong to the government.
All right.
It belongs to the young people, and we must pursue this cause no matter the cost.
All right. All right. Thank you. And let's hear from you, sir. Your good name, what you do, and what you feel is the biggest misunderstanding over the protests.
Yeah, good evening, all of you.
Good evening.
My name is, I go by name Bonnie. I'm a small business person and also a youth leader at Bugela Mwananchi Jivanji.
All right.
My biggest misunderstanding of this Gen Z movement so far I've had is that the people may be in power. They think that all the young people, they support the street way of advocating for their rights. It's not all the young people who are for protest and what have you. They are that group of young people who advocate civilization, civil way of addressing issues. Because you can see there's this misunderstanding that a Gen Z movement is one that causes anarchy, sponsored by career criminals masquerading as human rights activists, of which maybe in me I see some sense in it. That's why there's a group of Gen Z who advocate for other avenues other than the streets. And that's why I stand.
What are some of these avenues that you advocate for?
For one, we can have a dialogue it has been proposed.
Okay.
We can sit down, a dialogue, we raise issues. Because for one, we can chew gum at the club stairs at the same time. You see? Because demonstrating outside someone else's shop, I may inconvenience him. But there are other avenues, town halls, like the one you're having, right? And you can still address the same issue and achieve the same results.
All right, all right. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying one of the biggest misunderstandings is that all the youth are in support of protests.
Yeah, that's
all
the
right.
biggest mistake.
All right, fair enough. Now, we'll come back to you in a second. Sorry?
Which is very misleading to these people.
All right.
Very misleading.
We will come back to that in a moment. And I ask all of you, tunaenda haraka haraka. So if you see a mic in front of you, please, if you want to speak, just put up your hand. I'll be able to note you, and we'll come to you in no time, all right? All right, thank you so much. Now, I have a question for you, and I really would like you to talk to us in a second. Chris, I know you're on standby. I'm coming to you in a moment in Mombasa, but I want you to talk to us about what have you witnessed on the ground in terms of police response and rights violations. And let's be honest, are we entering into dangerous territory, or are we already in dangerous territory? You know, talk to us about what you've witnessed, because you have a very unique perspective at the Commission for Human Rights.
Yes, we have already entered a dangerous territory, because one of the tactics that the government is using is what is called informal repression. Mm-hmm. Informal repression is where the government uses informal methods like sending goons to protest and to areas of, we saw them attack churches. We also saw them coming into our offices as the Kenya Human Rights Commission. They are intimidation tactics, so that there's no liability to the government, because you can't pinpoint where these goons have come from, but you know where they have come from. But they have not been paid. They've been paid cash under the table by politicians somewhere where you can't trace. So there's no accountability to the government. And other than that, the police also, you see, as we have seen with the shoot to kill orders from the CS Murkomen and from Mr. Ruto himself, saying that people to be shot at the legs. This has escalated issues. If you have noticed, the police, they seem to be having more power. They seem more emboldened to use their firearms more than they used to. We are not saying that they used not to, but right now the people who have been shot have increased. The people who have been killed or injured, the numbers are on the rise, because it seems the government and the police, the state where we are in is dangerous. And if we continue on this trend, it will reach levels where it will be common, it will be normal. There'll just be numbers at some point. It will be like, oh, it happened again. And it's a dangerous place to reach. Therefore, that's why accountability needs to be taken now by the government, and the police needs to be stopped now. And also this issue of goons needs to be stopped now. Right.
Today, in the courts, it was discovered that the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Eliud Lagat, did not actually step aside, but he actually took annual leave, about 18 days, just slightly over 2 weeks, annual leave. and it was announced to the country that he was actually stepping aside to allow for investigations. What do you make of that?
What I make of it is this government has been marked by lies, and it's the people in the government and in these positions have been liars, because the memo they sent was that he has stepped aside from official duties. But when we come to discover that he actually went on leave, it means we can't trust the government that we have. They will keep lying to us and twisting the stories to suit their own narrative without listening to what we are saying. Because all these are tactics. They would just want to remain in power, but what they're forgetting is the power that the people have given to them. And it's a government that at some point we won't trust if they keep playing with us and always lying to us.
All right. Now, thank you for that. Good people at home, remember the drill. Please send in your messages through the WhatsApp number. I hope our producers are putting that number on your screen right now. It comes directly here. So please send in your questions, your comments, your messages. I'll be happy to respond to them. Those of you who are watching via YouTube and wish to send your message through the chat box, please feel free to do that. I want to bring in Chris Otieno, joining us from Mombasa. Chris, from a security standpoint, could you help us to understand what actually explains the state's instinct to crack down rather than listen?
Victor, thanks very much for having me. And I am really thrown outside listening to the sentiments of my fellow panelists and all those of us in studio. Now, one thing that we need to understand is that we have seen escalation day by day. Long before anything happened, this started on e-platform. Moved from e-platform and went to the streets. In the streets, quite a number of things happened that threw everything out of balance. And the risk velocity kept gaining momentum. Now, the government on one side is looking at doing what? Ensuring that nothing of this sort happens. And you can hear the anger that is there in the Gen Zs. Now, government has an objective. Gen Zs have something to put through. When these two parties meet in one particular point, what do you expect? Further escalation. If you look at what the government would be putting itself at would be, for example, to make sure that what goes out there for national or international consumption is that Kenya is still a democracy or Kenya is still a peaceful nation. They will try to use all means to ensure that is the narrative that goes out there. But when it comes deep in the country and how they operationalize the strategy, it becomes something totally different. Gen Zs here are very angered. The police here have an order to be able to do what they have to do. When these two guys meet in the field, the unexpected happens. So from TikTok or from e-platform, we went to actual, in the field demonstrations. In that field demonstration, we saw a number of miscalculations from both the parties. Right? Police had the number of, they had a percentage of miscalculation. Gen Zs had another percentage of miscalculation. When these miscalculations were added up, it came into something that even led to the loss of life. We've seen destruction of property. We've seen a response that is totally to another level in terms of trying to bring this down. So my plea and my observation from a security perspective is that there needs to be something that needs to be done quite urgently so that this risk velocity does not take us to the next level that will make us quite afraid. And the way things are, that is the direction that we are heading, a very dangerous direction.
All right. Now, Chris, here's another question for you, and I want you to draw from your insight as a security expert. Take us back, drawing back from our history. Look at how the colonial police, all the way to the independent police, force or service, whatever you might call it, all the way till now. Talk to me about how our policing culture treats protests, particularly protests that are youth-led, with reference, of course, to how for example, the multi-party protests went, the so-called seven-bearded sisters, that time, the Saba Saba original, the Nane Nane, all those different protests that were instrumental in advancing, Kenya's society forward. What has been your insight into how this policing force or policing culture treats youth-led protests?
Victor, let the facts be told here. We are cognizant of one fact, that we inherited a police force tactics. We inherited how we carry out our police operations from a colonial aspect. The colonialists in those days, trained our police force to meet violence, to respond with violence. So over time, our traditional method of responding to any street violence or any form of civil strife has been purely to respond with a lot of violence. There has not been a change in that. There has not been a change, neither in tactics or whatever. The only thing that we have seen probably is kitting. The kind of kitting our policemen are getting is different. But the tactics of how to use that kitting and the tactics of how to respond have more or less remained the same in terms of protests. So we will not see a change unless something else is injected into how we conduct our police operations in the near future or what we have to see. So the more Gen Zs go to the streets, the more we have this protest, the more violence we are going to see because of the tactics and the operationalization of those tactics that have been there time immemorial, and that will continue to drive how we respond, and the numbers that will come from there in terms of injury, in terms of loss of life, in terms of the number of persons who will be arrested, that will continue going up time, and that will not change.
Does this worry you in the sense that, and I'm looking at some research here that shows that over the last, let's say, 10 years, the trust between the public and the police has been increasingly getting eroded. Are we heading into, again, dangerous territory where the citizenry are not able to trust the police? And what nightmare scenarios does this portend for Kenya?
This is a true nightmare. Every day we see the distance between the public and the police in terms of trust percentage or trust index going completely parallel. That will continually be driven in that direction. We lose trust, and whatever kind of intervention police try to bring on board because of a lowered trust, because trust is earned, a lower level of trust. We do not see at any particular time that we shall say we can measure a certain percentage of trust from the public to the police, and that probably will increase that police and private or the public partnership. We cannot say that. But we know very well that for us to have a complete policing that is comprehensive, that captures a lot of the sectors of our Republic of Kenya, there must be that cohesion, there must be that collaboration, there must be that cooperation between the citizens of the Republic of Kenya and the policemen who are with that authority or with that mandate to make sure there is peace and order. Other factors further erode this. It is that the number of policemen that we have, in terms of ratio, policemen to the citizen, is quite on the two disparities. UN statistics give it very clear that there should be one policeman to 400 citizens. But if you look at our numbers now, and this is still deteriorating and growing further, we have one policeman to 1,200 citizens. With that kind of a disparity growing and trust continually to erode, if you look at that from a risk agency or risk velocity perspective, we are telling ourselves that there will be very little impact in whatever intervention that we pick up to try and reduce that parallel between these two entities. It is not going to work easily. It requires radical surgery to ensure that we can do something that could actually bring this to some level or degree of acceptance, which for now we do not see any light in the near future that this is going to change.
Chris, I mean, it's a reality that this generation and even the generation that follows are growing up in full view of what's happening. I mean, previously, the media was different. The dissemination of information was different in the previous years. But now information is at their fingertips. If you shut down a media station like it was done during the June 25th protests, there's TikTok. There's all kinds of places that people can get this information. So what do you imagine the next generation, the generation Gen Z and Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, what do you think is going to be the abiding mindset, especially when it comes to police? And what sort of impact would that have on our society?
We have right now, and the forthcoming generation will be very tech savvy. But then you see the people who are serving in our police units in terms of commanders are old school, using traditional methods, right? When they issue an order of shoot to kill, they must realize one thing, that the Gen Zs are not in this battlefield where we are saying shoot to kill. They're another battlefield, which is known as the E-platform. Why can't we take our intervention that e-platform and see whether we can have influence on these particular people in the field where they are strong enough to be able to change their mind? That is not happening right now. What does that mean to the nation? It basically means that this generation is going to have a very big quest, a very high percentage to drive this generation that is there in leadership out to enable them come in. And Victor, you can measure that from the conversation that is going on in this discussion. You can hear the amount, the percentage of rate that is coming from those that were with in the studio. How they're talking, how they're speaking, how they're quantifying everything that they are faced. It basically tells us that the level of anger in these people toward those in leadership is at astronomical levels. And if we don't do anything, the impact that will have in the coming days with broken promises, betrayals, and many other things that we are seeing in that environment, basically, Victor, we are telling ourselves that the risk will be elevated, and the more it gets elevated, the more deteriorating the situation will become. The only solution is we need to have dialogues, but even that is complicated by the fact that our Gen-Zs proclaim themselves publicly leaderless, tribeless, and things like that. How then do you find space to negotiate with those kinds of people? It's difficult with that kind of a structure. So with all these things going on in one very big mix, we find the situation is not going to improve any time sooner. But they will have an agenda that will drive, and they'll drive that in very many ways. And that driving of the agenda, Victor, is going to deteriorate exactly the cohesion that we need as a nation to be able to progress our initiatives and torpedo us to the next level where we can be able to compete globally. Look at it. When these strikes come to the nation, investors shy away. The whole world sits in front of their televisions, in front of the other medias or sources of information to see what is happening in Kenya. What happened here drove what happened in Bangladesh and many other aspects, like Nigeria and other areas that's tried. So we're telling ourselves Kenya has become an eye-opener to very many generations of very many countries in terms of Gen Zs and their protests. And this, as far as risks go on, Victor, we are not going to remedy this unless radical surgery, immediate surgery are brought in and viable, relevant interventions brought into place for us to be able to manage this thing. But I worry as a risk manager that the level where we are and where we are going needs intervention ASAP.
Hey, Chris. Now, Luke, who sent in a message on the WhatsApp platform, says that this government has chosen to give a deaf ear to its citizens. Even if the president rules for 100 years, is not a leader. Now, you also say that even implementing the key elements in the NADCO and MOUs signed is contrary to the current state, and the dialogue being pushed will not bear any fruit. This is the view of Luke. Thank you, Luke, for your message. Ruby says, Ruby from Umo, you say, our country is our refuge. We cannot live without freedom, without speaking. People are being killed just because of their own rights, abduction, extrajudicial killings, injustice. There's no justice. The economy is high. The country is in a mess. We don't need dialogue. He's on Ijaba. So Ruby says dialogue Nijaba. We'll debate that in a bit. But I've got a question for you guys and for you as well. Wajira, are you afraid? I know you see yourself. In fact, let me ask you this. Do you see yourself as a future leader, or do you see yourself as somebody with a target on their back?
I see myself as a future leader for this country, because we are going to overcome these hurdles. The whole country can see that we do not have leadership in this country. We have a bunch of people who are hell-bent on destroying this nation. This is why the whole country rises in defense of Kenya. This is why everybody from every corner of the world is not just here in Nairobi. As far as Turkana, we have a justice center. As far as Nanyuki, the people are rising to defend our sovereignty, to defend our country, our present, and our future. Because this is not just about this present moment. The loans that those guys in parliament and in the executive are taking are going to affect us. So this moment is a moment in defense of tomorrow, of now. So I don't see myself as, the farther could go with me is propaganda, which they have already done, commercial activism and whatnot. There have been threats about, but you see, those things come with this line.
They say, actually, this is something that's been gaining a lot of traction. They're saying, there's a question, are the activists true activists fighting for the people? Ama Wakomboka. You know what I mean?
Niko na swali.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
For someone who chooses to defend your rights, to go to the streets, to fight for justice, to eat that tear gas, what problem do you have that they can survive as they do it?
Very good question.
What problem? Why do you complain that they are able to feed themselves as they do it? You go about your business. You do that. But if they can do this, they are courageous enough to put their lives on the line. The people of Kenya should support them.
All right.
It is the government narrative that is discouraging some people. That on top of my emotional toil of having to deal with oppression, I also have to deal with Kenyans who are calling me. In fact, I just ignore because I don't have the space for it. I know where we're going. I know where these attacks are coming from. But if we're being honest with each other, we should be in support of activists who've been at it, who've been consistent, who are willing to continue being courageous, who are willing to continue, even in these times where people are being killed, in these times where people are being abducted. Bonnie has not stopped. Hanifa has not stopped. Shakira has not paused. I have not stopped. We have not stopped. In the face of adversity, we are still looking at the enemy in the face and saying, you must go. You must stop killing us. You must respect the Constitution. You must respect the people of Kenya. So I do not understand why you would think I am your enemy when I am fighting for our collective liberation.
All right. We're coming to you. I promise you. Tetezi, I assure you. Please, we're coming. I assure you. I assure you. We're shifting. Write it down. Write it down. James, do you feel a target on your back, or do you feel a wind beneath your sails pushing you towards leadership?
I feel both. I have received damning calls. I have been threatened both online and physically, both by police officers and by unidentified people. And that has not stopped me, because we must continue fighting. And someone said, if you do not have enemies, then probably you're doing nothing with your life. As to the other aspect, yes, this limelight and this entire push for better governance has propelled most of us to the eyes of the public. And probably it has strengthened our resolve to lead, because the resolve has been there. I have been a leader before the Gen Z movement came up, and this has not broken anything in me. I am still as resolved as I was before 2024. And I'm still pushing to lead from the position that I will aspire to lead from.
But as a leader, are you prepared for what would come? Like you said, there's a dichotomy here. There's two things that will come to you. Some of you are being hit by the butts of a gun. Others are being hit by checks and dollars, to compromise you. Are you ready for that sort of challenge?
I know it's going to be tricky heading forward, because one, the state is ready to sponsor goons to infiltrate our campaigns, because we are going to get to campaigns. That is going to happen. That is exactly what the YK92 group was tasked with by President Daniel Arap Moi. And one of the members of YK92 is the president today. So what do you expect? We are looking at a bleak future, but we cannot despair, because we are the majority. I also know that more youths will be approached, more will be co-opted into government, and more will be co-opted into the current cannibalistic political parties that we have. Kasmuel is not the last. He is just the first. There are more that have been poached to this very day, and they will poach more. And we should also be prepared to deal with propaganda, because I don't think most of the activists are ready for politics, because that's a different bandwidth altogether. There is a lot of propaganda that is going to be pushed to us.
Why do you think they're not ready?
Because they have not experienced propaganda before. The same thing the opposition was doing to William Ruto when he was the deputy president. I'm not saying he was a saint, but in politics, propaganda is the idea of the day. It is what sells. And they are going to push propaganda to almost every other youth who's going to vie. They will get something to pin you down with. And probably there are skimming on the kind of propaganda they are going to push against Maraga and against Omtata. That is going to happen. If you are a popular candidate for whichever position you're vying for in 2027, please ready yourself for propaganda. And probably you should, as of now, try and figure out how you will counter this propaganda, because that is coming. The other thing that is going to be our biggest blockade getting to 2027 is the Harambee thing. You see, William Ruto and his government put a halt to the Harambees. But we need to crowdfund getting to 2027 to raise money for campaigns and for rallies and so on. And probably the government is already thinking of how to curb this, of how to stop this. Because listening to Maraga saying that he has 2 million shillings that is willing to stake for the presidency, and he needs to raise the rest of the money from Kenyans. Don't you think for a moment that William Ruto is happy with this narrative? That he's sitting pretty and comfortable that Maraga is going to be a people's president, or Omtata for that matter, funded by the people and endorsed by the people. They are already scheming on how to cut our legs getting to 2027 so that we remain fundless and in a way that we would be unable to organize even logistically to move from one location to the other.
All right, okay, that's an interesting point. We'll come to you in a moment, but you had a burning point. Is it about the dialogue thing?
Yeah, it's about it, because I feel we might continue misreading the Kenyans. And I want the government to know what the government is expecting. It's poor activists. But we want to tell the government, we as young people, we are hardworking. Even if they don't employ us, we have ways to get our monies. So don't expect us, because we are activists, that we shall be poor. We shall have money and we are not given. We have ours that we seek. Secondly, I feel that here are a good student of Raila Odinga, who is the best example of a commercial activist. And the reason why I say this, Raila Odinga called for a dialogue with the government. And it is one of the misunderstandings that the protest has had. Because the government thought that taking Raila Odinga into the government is solving Gen Z's problem. Who told them? That was not our problem. So I feel that we have youths who are misread in the same commercial activism that they tend to fight, whereas it's what they are eating from. So I want to encourage my brothers here, because they are my brothers, and tell them it is a matter of time, because this system that is eating us today will come to eat you. Thank you.
All right. Please pass the mic to the gentleman right behind you. What is your good name and what is your point?
Okay. I am called Honorable Prof. Kotonde, senior citizen at Jivanji and a leader of this state. I want to rebut by saying it is equally wrong to come to this great TV station and lie to Gen Zs. We love this country more than you can imagine, and it will be bad because we have so many people, so many young brains, not the ones here only, across this country, who are not ready to buy the idea of lies. You can say that coming up with an idea of a dialogue to this great state is a bad stuff. We don't want...
Let us let everyone make their point.
We don't want to go the other ways we've seen across this continent. If maybe I can take you through, maybe you don't want to borrow the idea of history. In the year 1983, I wasn't born then, but I read the history. The country was burning. What brought this country back? The dialogue. In the year 1992, when the likes of Matibas, they were working towards having this space, they didn't kill each other to the level that they could not listen to each other. Dialogue. When people were tired of the Moise regime, they did not kill one another to the level that we could not reason. dialogue came out clearly. In the year 2007, some of them are not born then. Yeah. What brought peace when the country was burning was dialogue. The reason as to why I'm really on this is that what Raila can see, while just seated like the way you're sitting, Victor, none of us can see here. Exactly. To them, they will be like, it's not making sense now, but it will make sense. I know. TikTok followers. You get?
No. Let's all be respectful. Make your point
Exactly.
as we move on. Yes.
So,
yes, sir.
The bottom line is, whatever it takes, we must sit down and protect this country.
So you're a proponent of dialogue.
Exactly that.
All right.
Good.
Thank you. We'll come back to you in a moment. Let's hear from our first lady of the evening from this side. What is your good name, where are you from, and what's your point, please?
Thank you, Victor. My name is Nyambura Mwangi from Nyandarua County, a youth leader and the founding chair, the Young Liberators. I would like to answer the gentleman here, the reason
please.
as to why we don't want to go the dialogue way. Tell us how we can sit and dialogue with the person who did not even come out to address the issue of more than 20 women who were raped when we were there in Maandamano. Women who were peaceful, they were only carrying water and handkerchiefs. They were raped by goons allegedly sent by the government. The government cannot say the goons. Of course, the government remained mum. Those are Kenyan citizens. Tell us how we can go sit and dialogue with someone who has not even come out openly to mourn a young girl who was shot while she was watching cartoons in the house. Tell us how we are going to start this dialogue. I mean, why do we even have women leaders in this country? Because why do we have women who are still supporting the government? When these young ladies were raped, these are our daughters. These are our moms. These are people who are seeking justice, who are seeking employment. Why are you still supporting the government? And I would like to address those women who are still supporting the current regime. If you don't come in your constituencies to recall you, 2027, be very ready because we are taking you home.
I have a question for you before you sit, if I may. If I'm hearing you correctly, one of the main reasons why you oppose dialogue is that the state has shown itself incapable of having dialogue and unworthy of sitting with you.
We are dealing with an egocentric kind of a person.
All right.
Yeah, our president to be very specific.
So here's a scenario. Let me throw a curveball at you. What if suddenly tomorrow morning you hear the president comes on the news and says, ladies and gentlemen of Kenya, says all the right things. We're sorry. We acknowledge this happened. Everything you've said. Would you be willing to sit down and listen?
No, we wouldn't, because we are used to him lying. In fact, the other name for our president is he's a liar.
All right.
He's a liar.
All right, thank you. That's clear enough. Let's hear from you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah, Victor, I'm your name.
And then please pass the mic to the gentleman in the tie. The other mic to him, please. And then you want to... Okay. Do you have a mic, sir? Okay, we'll come to you in a second. Let's cover that. Would you please pass the mic? Sir, would you pass it to him? And then after him, you will speak. All right? Thank you. Please.
Thank you, Vic. My name is Victor. I'm your namesake.
Oh, karibu sana.
Thank you. So mine will be brief. I can see we are many. And I'd like to say the main reason that I'm a millennial, and I like what Kwanjiro said. It's not about Gen Zs. It's about Kenyans. And the reason that we don't want dialogue with our president is because before you get to Gen Zs, we have the Kriegler report, we have the Ndungu report, we have the NADCO report that has not been implemented. Can we start with those that are gathering dust in State House? Yeah, so we want dialogue, but can we have a genuine dialogue? Thank you.
All right, fair enough. That's a good point. Sir, let us hear from you. What's your good name and what's your point?
Habari ya jioni.
Mzuri sana.
Sijui kama mtakubali niongee Kiswahili.
Iko sawa kabisa. Karibu sana.
Mimi ni wa class 3.
Ni sawa. You are a first class citizen of Kenya. That's all that matters. Karibu sana. Unaitwa nani? Unatoka wapi?
Asante. Kwa majina yangu naitwa Sylvester Ofisi.
Okay.
Engineer wa jua kali.
Aha. Karibu sana.
Na leo ni siku ya pili kuja hapa. Last week nilikuwa hapa kuongea habari ya CBC.
All right. Leo una nini kwa
leo
kutuambia?
Nimesikia ile maswali mnaongea. Inanifurahisha kidogo. Mimi ni msasi wa GNC hawa. Na mimi naongeanga na hawa sana. Kutaka kujua ni kwa nini wanaendanga kwa street. Naongeanga na wawili watatu. Utasikia mmoja anakuambia hii katiba ni mzuri, imetupa uhuru ya kwenda street. Na mimi namwambia kama hii katiba ingekuja haungeingia street. Hati ilikuwa kali sana hiyo samani. Na kusema kweli president wa kwanza nilikuwako, nilimuona. Wa pili nimemuona. Kukua hii mchezo tuko nayo. Ilikuanga ni ufuate sharia. Lakini sasa katiba imekuja, nasema ni asante katiba imekuja kwa vijana. Lakini hii vijana ni kama ugonjwa imeingia ndani yao. Na hii ugonjwa ni kama ya kansa. For example, ndaweza sema wakati ukimwi iliingia Kenya, ilikuwa inaua tu familia ingine na inawacha familia ingine. Unasikia? Corona imekuja. Ilikuwa inaua watu wengine sana na wengine wanabaki. Saa hii sasa wananiambia ni ukombozi wa tatu. Ukombozi wa tatu msiingie na nguvu, lazima mtaingia na maongeo. Maongeo ndio itafanya hii ukombozi wa tatu ifanye kazi.
Okay.
Mimi nikiwa ninaongea hivi, mimi ni muadhiriwa kwa sababu my first son alipotea 205. Huyu ametoka
wakati wa referendum.
Hapana, huyu alitoka Women Rights.
Human Rights Commission, yes.
Yes, nimeripoti huko. Walipoweka kwa gazeti niliona watu 25 wale wame missing. Mmoja vijana. Kwa hivyo wananiuma. Sitaki nione mtu akiwawa. Sitaki kuona mtu akipotea. Lakini hawa Gen Z waongee, wawache kusema sijui nini less.
Okay. Sawa. Tumekupata. Yes. Tupe point yako.
Wasipoongea wataendelea tu kukufa.
Okay. Sawa.
Mimi saa hii nilikuwa na vijana wawili, nimebakisha mmoja. Mimi namwambianga usiende, lakini saa ile anakunywa hiyo sigara yake anaenda. Namwambia mimi hata ukienda nikikupata huko mimi nitakusika tu na maneno ikwe.
Okay, sawa mzee. Tumekupata. Wacha tutarudia kwa hiyo point. Asante sana. Ndugu, we had samani kidogo. Huyu alikuwa azungumze. We're just about to go on break.
Kabla kwa opposition, niko nataka kuongezea build on what
okay, tafadhali.
Kindly in a minute.
Yeah.
This is Omwansa, son of Omwansa, advocate of a small claims court and a student of law. I would like to answer this. Last year tulikuwa maandamano. Mimi nilikuwa, and the first agenda was finance bill. Honestly, let's be honest. Number 2, opulence ya wanasiasa wetu. And the president came, na ingine ilikuwa cabinet secretary, the CSS and all that. Na akakuja, akatoa finance bill, akakataa, na ukaona CS akavunja, akaleta wengine. At least he listened to us. Nikasema after that, hakuna maandamano tutatokea. This year imekuja 2025. Tumeenda, mimi nimetokea barabarani once, and it was for justice for Ojwang. Okay, that's the reason why I went there. So when I was answering also my good lady here, the reason what Mzee said, I have barred as a student leader for universities. I've barred jana nimezika Ian Njoroge hapa Gatundu. Kijana wetu Mike alipigwa 6 bullets. Many students are dying every day. So and I'm asking for independence, kulikuwa watu wanapigana na kuna watu walikuwa na dialogue. It is dialogue that gave us independence. In 2007, when we had the post-election violence. It is dialogue with Kofi Annan that gave us peace. So what I'm asking right now, we are not saying that when we are going to talk, it means tunaachia hapo. Because every day when watu wanatokea, watu wanauawa, more than 20 people. So are we going to on the roads to look for a better life, or are we going to lose lives? When she says that she doesn't want to talk, so you don't want to talk, you don't want to listen, what do you want? Tutasaidika aje? Last year we failed because we were leaderless. We failed because we didn't want to listen. But our president, who they call a liar, who I call a listening president, came down and listened to us. Na akatoa masi yes. So this year tukuje na what we want him to do. Tukue specific. Ukiulizwa ulienda Sabasaba maandamano kufanya nini? What is the reason? You don't have a reason.
Okay, all right.
At least you don't have a reason. So let's be organized and present our points. He will listen. Instead of losing and losing until it hits your door is when you know what it means to lose a person.
All right. I understand things are hot, but it's exactly 11 o'clock. We need to take a short break, commercial break, just for a couple of minutes. I believe if the point is hot enough and heavy enough, you can hold it until we come back. We are coming back, I assure you. Ladies and gentlemen at home, thank you for sending in your feedback. Let's take a short break. We'll be back with more. I can see your comments are coming in. We'll be able to have a vibrant discussion. We'll be right back.